Okay, so for the final part of this exam, this is the 2022 A2-C4 exam. We have this question number 5, which we know just goes through a series of different quick little mixing and production questions, no written stuff, and we're going to end up with sort of a final mixed track. They always are a real range of kind of easy ones and harder ones. So we start with 2 nice easy ones, which I'll do really quickly. So remove the noise in the bars of 1 to 3 at the rap vocal. So we can find our rap vocal here. Make it nice and big so we can see it. And bars 1 to 3.
Yo, dream.
So the key thing here is there's a noise all before this yo, and there's noise after it. So some people just took out all the noise up to bar 4. Well, we still need the yo because that's part of the song, I suppose. So we just need to cut here before, take everything out before there. I've got my fade tool on my command click. So command click, a little bit of a fade in there.
Yo.
Okay, and then that breath is okay because it is part of the song. So I'll just put it back in here. Command T, get rid of that middle bit. A little bit of a fade out there. A little bit of a fade in here.
Yo, dream a dream.
And that's done. So nice and easy question there. Okay, moving on. We are applying automated panning. Only bars 20 and 21 should be affected. All of the bars should be panned to the center. 20 and 21. So 20 should be panned hard left and bar 21 hard right. Okay, so that's on our scratch vocal, our sample track we just did. So 20, we're going to put all the way on the left and 21 all the way on the right, okay? Okay, so I'm just going to press A for automate and find my can go to main, panning, absolute, and so we need to be on 0 all the time. So it's on 0 all the time, but then at 20 here, we're going to send it over to the left side all the way, because it's hard panning, and then into bar 20, so it needs to stay up there, into bar 20, we're going to go all the way to the right side. I think some students, when they did this, you see there's a bit of a note here right at the end of 20. They made it cut all the way over to the right side too quickly, so you could hear it glitch over. So you just make sure that that bit's finished before you send it over to the other side. And then, of course, after that, we need to make sure that it stays all the way on the right side, and then after that comes back to the middle. Okay, so that's all that we need to do then. I'm just going to check it. So you could hear it clear there was no glitches in the middle where some people cut it over to the right side too soon and there was a glitch. I heard that quite a lot in students that send this one in to me. Okay, now a sidechain gating question. They love to ask a sidechain gating or a sidechain compression question. So only bars 12 to 18 should be affected. So we're going to gate the piano and only 12 to 18 should be affected. So we need to cut out 12 to 18. So let's do that quickly. So come out of automate mode, find my piano track. It's this one here. And it's only bars 12 to 18 that should be affected. So it's that bit there, so I'm going to cut just before it, and then up to the end. So we need to make sure they're at 19, that it's done. So that chord at 19, it shouldn't be gated. So I'll just crop that just before it there. Cut that. So this part needs to be on a different track. So on here, I'm going to click Command D, which is going to duplicate my track because I've got all my chorus and effects from before on there, and drag this bit down like that. And then I might, because I don't think that was a 0 crossing point, I'm just going to put a little fade either way there. Okay, so I've got all my effects on here, but I need to then have this be gated. So I'm going to loop around this part, and I'm going to put my noise gate on this track here. So it's a dynamic effect, noise gate, stereo. And then I just need to read the rest of the question. So the kick, snare, and clap should trigger the sidechain of the gate, so the piano plays in time with them. However, the hi-hat and cowbell should not trigger the gate. Okay, so we need to, it's all about just setting the threshold here. So we need to sidechain from our drums. So our drums are feeding this noise gate. And we're going to set the threshold. I'm going to start with it really quite high, and I'm going to start bringing it down so that just the kick drum, snare drum, and claps are triggering it, but nothing else is triggering it. So I'm going to solo just the drums and my piano part. So at the minute, I've got the threshold too high, so nothing's triggering it. So you can hear that's about right because my hi-hats and the cowbell are not triggering it, but the do-do, ga-do-do is triggering it there. It's a bit short, so I'm going to add a little bit of hold, a little bit of release. Yeah, that's fine. So nice and simple there. But you do need to make sure you know how to sidechain compress and sidechain gate because it comes up all the time on this question number 5. So now we need to create a double-tracked backing vocal for the phrases stage fright and take flight in 26-28. The words of the backing vocal should be the same words. Pan them hard left and right and apply a short reverb to them. Okay, ensure that the lead vocal is still present in the center, so it's 26 and 28. Cool, so that's on our rap vocal. So we can go to 26 and 28 here.
One of your wings is missing, you can never take flight. Made it to the edge, but can't get past the stage fright.
So there's stage fright there, it's this here.
Stage.
Okay, so there's not going to be a 0 crossing point there, so I need to make sure I fade appropriately. I'm just going to select that, trim it at the end. Just solo just the rap vocal. So that needs to be copied and pasted onto 2 other tracks, but let's find the other one as well because there's one in 28.
You can never take flight.
That one there. So I can crop that.
Take flight.
Okay. So I've got my parts that I need to work with, and I need to just then create 2 more tracks. So I'm just going to Command D twice. And drag these parts. So I'm going to hold Option and click to copy them down. Option and click. Do that again here. And again here. Okay, so we need to make sure one of these is hard right and the other's hard left. However, that is not enough to create a the effects because we've just doubled the exact same thing. So to create that automatic double tracking effect, we probably need to change these duplicates a little bit. So I'm going to drag them slightly out of time and slightly out of pitch. Okay, so I'll show you what I mean here. So on this first duplicate, I'm going to go to the region here. And I'm going to just add a little bit of delay here in ticks. So I'm going to make those ones happen a little bit later. And I'm going to just drop them out of tune. We're on fine tune here, not transpose, so this is in sense. I'm just going to drop them out of tune like slightly. Just like that. And then on this bottom one, I'm going to, again, add a little bit of delay. So they happen a little bit out of time. Maybe less so than the other one. And maybe I'll make this one slightly flat. Again, only ever so slightly.
Made it to the edge, but can't get past the stage fright. One of your wings is missing, you can never take flight.
So you can see it actually sounds different there rather than being a duplicate. Lots of people just duplicate and it didn't actually sound like any sort of stereo double tracking there, which is what we needed. And then we just need to apply some reverb on here as well. I think we have an example. Just apply a short reverb. So when I think of a short reverb, I'm thinking about a second usually for a short reverb, okay? And the short reverb is just on the backing vocal. So I could set up a bus, or I could just copy and paste it. I think just because it's just on this, I might just copy and paste it. So I'm going to go reverb, chroma verb, stereo. Room might be all right for a short. Then, yeah, about a second. And then not overly loud with our reverb. Let's go for about 25. And I can just go to my mix window and option click and copy that over. Let's have a listen. Does that sound like an appropriate reverb?
To the edge, but can't get past the stage fright. One of your wings is missing, you can never take flight.
Sounds fine to me. And ensure the lead vocals are present in the center. So I think my backing vocals are a bit too loud. They're kind of getting on top of the main vocals. I'm just going to drop them both a little bit.
Past the stage fright. One of your wings is missing, you can never take flight.
Sounds good to me. Okay, that's working good. We can move on to the next question now. So we are recreating a vocal delay. So on these C4 exams, you're always either going to have to recreate a delay or recreate a reverb effect, okay? Now there's 5 marks here, so that's telling me it's going to be more complex than just like throwing a really simple delay on there, okay? There's going to be more going on. So let's really closely listen to this vocal delay in bar 11 because it's a 5 marker, like I said. There's going to be quite a bit going on, I would imagine. So we'll listen here to bar 5.
Reel it in. The world is changing. It's getting harder
11,
to feel a
sorry.
thing.
11.
Many phones, not the real world is plugged in all of the time. All of the time. All of the time.
Okay, so what can I hear or what can you hear about this reverb here?
Plugged
this
in
delay?
all of the time. All of the time. All of the time. All of the time. Plugged in all of the time. All of the time. All of the time. All of the time. Plugged in all of the time. All of the time. Time. All of the time. All of the time. All of the time. What goes up comes down as time. All of the time. All of the time. All of the time. What goes up comes down as a fact. It's just how you.
So it's still going on even under there. So it's going on for like almost like a bar and a half. It's like a crotchet delay, and you can actually see there's the signal there, a crotchet louder. So it's got quite a lot of feedback. I can also hear that it's quite filtered, okay? So the original signal, we can hear the full frequency range, but then as it decays on, it's getting sort of like high passed, isn't it? It sounds quite high frequency heavy, the delay, okay? So I need to make sure it's got all those features when I do the same thing in bar 19, okay, on message like.
And always take time for the man that carries a message like. Message like.
Okay.
Message. A message.
It's just that part there. Again, it's not going to be a 0 crossing point, so I might need a fade. So I'm going to just take that word out. I'm not going to try automate a delay. It's always quicker just to put it on a new track. And always quicker to just put it on a new track and just put the delay on that track alone. Okay.
It's a message like.
So I'm going to go for a delay here. So audio effects, delay. And I'm going to go, let's try, see, I would go for this echo plugin here, but the problem with that is I'm not going to be able to get that high pass effect as easy as I can probably with another plugin. So maybe let's try tape delay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go for, like we said, I'm going to go for a crotchet. Okay, and we know that it has quite a lot of feedback, so I'm going to go for quite a high value there. And we also know that it's quite high frequency heavy, so I'm going to use this little EQ here to make sure it's these frequencies that are delaying or echoing. So let's just solo this and have a listen.
A message last.
Oh, sorry, it's not a crotchet delay, is it? Because I have that on a crotch and that didn't sound right. Let's listen to it again.
Plugged in all of the time. Carries a message last.
That doesn't sound right to me. Ah, it's because I've got this deviation on here, I think. We don't want it to deviate. I don't know why that's on there.
Message last.
There we go. Okay, I think it's actually more high frequency heavy, so I'm going to bring this up a little bit more.
Carries a message last. Made it to the edge, but
So I think that's a bit too much feedback because it's going over that sort of bar and a half. I think it really needs to fill this gap up to this next bit
the
of
carries
vocal.
a message last. Made it to the edge, but can't get past the stage fright. And the carries a message last. Made it to the edge.
Yeah, so that's a similar feedback value. I think a lot of the examples I was given from students didn't have nearly enough feedback, and a lot didn't have that aggressive sort of high-pass EQ as well. Okay, so now we need to balance the level of the mix. Okay, so let's have a go at doing that. What I'm going to do is, just because I've got lots of versions of the same thing, I might make some group tracks. For instance, like this vocal here, that's all just rap vocals, so I might just select those. You don't have to do this, but I quite like to. And just create a summing track stack, just so I can control them on one fader there. Again, I've got my backing vocals there. I might just join them together quickly. You don't have to do this, but I do think it makes sure there's no errors with your volume when there's duplicates of things. Got a scratch vocal. We've got 3 different piano tracks. I'm quite happy with the levels because I've matched them in earlier questions. So I just want to control them all with one fader. So that's our piano part. And then we've got our bass and drums. Okay, so we can go about mixing these. As we know, our drums should probably be our loudest thing. So let's start with the drums. And we said before in question 1, we thought they were quite an appropriate level anyway. Let's mix that in with our bass. We have already increased the gain of our bass on a previous question. Because there's not much going on in this song, that bass is actually like a really key instrument in it, so we need to have that nice and loud. That sounds quite good around there. Our piano then. Way too loud, and a lot of students turned in for this exam. Pianos that were way too loud. So that needs, it's a backing instrument, it's a harmony instrument, so it needs to just fill the space, but not be super in your face. And now I'm hearing this, I'm really losing the bass. If I was actually mixing this, I'd be adding some high-pass filter to the piano, but they don't want you to do that. They just want you to use levels. Let's sit our vocals on top of this then.
It's getting harder to feel a thing. Many thrones, not anybody can be your king. You could rock a crown made of paper and they could see the bling. I'm moving on. From these cold roads, I'm moving on to yellow brick roads with sunshine and no computers on. But that's all in the mind, cause now the real world is plugged in all of the time.
Sounds good to me. Then we've got our backing vocals. We already kind of matched them.
One of your wings is missing, you can never take flight.
We were quite happy with that before, and then it's just this scratched sampler track on top. Let's hear, where does that play quite a bit? Plays quite a bit here.
Yellow brick roads with sunshine and no computers on. But that's all in the mind, cause now the real world is plugged in all of the time. What goes up can always take time for the man that carries a message loud. Made it to the edge, but can't get past the stage fright. One of your wings is missing, you can never take flight. Made it to the edge, but can't get past the stage fright.
That's sounding appropriate to me. It's not getting in the way of the lead vocal, so I've just brought it down a little bit. And I can see on my stereo out fader, which I know is the next question, the level is nice and loud, but not clipping. I could probably push it another decibel or so if I really wanted to.
So, cause there's something in them books that they hide in the show. Some are lust in their own maze, hiding from hope. Do your thing, make your mark in this land before you exit, and always take time.
But that's plenty loud enough, and I really don't want it to clip. So I think that's about ready to go. So these last little things we always need to check, okay? So it's nice and loud, as I've just said. It should be free from distortion, so it's not clipping. We need to make sure we're not limiting or compressing anything, which we're not. Then we need to make sure there's no long silences at the start of the end, but also we're not cutting anything off. So let's see, where does this song actually really start? Starts right there at the start of bar 2. So I'm just going to bring my bounce region to just be maybe a crotchet beat just before there. Yeah, so there's a little bit of feed-in time, but it's not too long and definitely not cutting anything off. Then again, at the end, we need to make sure, although our clips all be done, all might be done. If we've got reverb or delay on things, it might go on a bit longer, so let's just check. So it ends quite abruptly, so that's fine. We can end it just there, about halfway through bar 30. Let's just listen to that. Make sure that's fine. Yep, that sounds fine to me. So I think we're ready to bounce then. So then we would do Command B and do our WAV bounce onto the desktop. Right, that is all the doing questions of this exam.